break it down. We'll tell you what we're trying to talk about. But there are scamsters out in the open who are looting thousands of crores of rupees of people in India. We're going to decode that story for you in just a bit.
And the unique thing that we have on the show today is that we actually have a guest with us who has gone through a digital arrest. He's going to walk us through his experience. Where did he realize that there was actually a digital arrest taking place? How did he come to know this was a scam, he shouldn't fall for it? What was that moment that tipped him off? We thought it was so important to bring someone into the studio and talk a little bit about that. So that's our first story. Our second story, and we'll just head to the headlines in a second, but our second story is with someone who has gone viral. Kritsween, let's tell our audiences a little bit, because this video went viral. Very cool. A woman fighting down a cobra, a python? What was it?
It was a king cobra.
Okay, it was a king cobra.
18-foot long.
Horrifying video, but she does it with a lot of bravery.
Yeah, she did it with a lot of courage, a lot of bravery, and she's being called the Green Queen on internet. So we'll talk about her story and we'll chat with her. But first up, the top headlines. The fraud economy is booming in the country. Deep fakes, fake cops and digital arrests is what is making the headlines every now and then. So we talk about India's growing cybercrime racket this morning on The Breakfast Club. What's more worrying is that highly educated people are turning cyber thieves. How are they being able to dupe people of crores of rupees? IIT grads, MCA, duos, mastermind, ED bank heists are currently on. We'll talk about that in this edition of The Breakfast Club.
All right, and after that, we take you to the Green Queen of Kerala, the woman who stared down a king cobra. She's a beat officer, Roshni, and she has had her biggest rescue yet. The internet is saluting this snake savior, and we've brought this interview where she talks about not just all the animals she's saved in the past, but also how she goes about a typical process, what it's like. She breaks it down for us.
And we will also get you behind the scenes from Tanvi the Great, Anupam Kher exclusive chat coming up. Understand what this shoot was all about, what really went on while this film was being shot behind the scenes in just a bit, with Anupam Kher getting candid about the days at the shoot. He also recalls some of the heartfelt moments from the set. Okay, so let's get started this morning. We begin the Breakfast Club with yet another episode on Scam Alert. In 2024, over 17 lakh cybercrime complaints were filed, marking a significant increase from the previous 2023. The most sinister of them all is digital arrest scam, where fake cops, fake court warrants and deep fake videos push victims into real life panic and a lot of money loss.
Right, insurance scams, OTP frauds, fake job offers, spoofed government calls. The fraud economy is thriving right now, and most of us Indians still don't know their exact modus operandi. In response to these escalating threats, our authorities have initiated awareness campaigns. They've implemented measures to curb cybercrime. But we wanted to take a look at different cases that had taken place in just the last few days. There's the case of a Mumbai CA, Raj Leela Murrez, who ended his life after being extorted of over 3 crore rupees and a luxury car by a duo that threatened to leak a private video of his.
Or the case of a lawyer in Noida itself who was digitally arrested for 9 days and was forced to withdraw 3 crore rupees from her fixed deposits under threats from fraudsters who were posing as officials. Very, very close to the story we're going to bring to you on the Breakfast Club edition today. And another concerning trend that we spoke of just a couple of seconds ago is how there are a couple of arrests that have been made in Delhi NCR. These are IIT, MCA, BCA, BBA graduates who are masterminding bank heists worth hundreds of crores through SIM swap scams, phishing attacks and fake investment apps. These aren't isolated cases, viewers. They're part of a chilling trend where educated young professionals are turning their tech skills into tools of financial crime. But as fresh cases pile up, the question is no longer who is at risk, but how prepared are we really to fight back and fight this challenge?
Okay, so we thought a wonderful way to go about this was to have two guests. One is a cyber lawyer, Mahir Gupta, who we've had on the show before. He's a government advisor. He's a trainer to India's top cybercrime units like ATS, CBI. He knows how these rackets run and has joined us before to share with us a thing or two about how to stop this, well, to the degree that you can. We're going to talk about this in a second. But our second guest is someone called Akshay. And Akshay actually lost 2 lakh rupees owing to scammers. And Akshay, will actually come over to you first to ask you a little bit about what happened. Akshay, tell us, so what happened? Walk us back. When did it happen? A, were digital arrests already a thing you knew of? Like, had you read the digital arrests were taking place when this happened? How long back did it happen? And what was your first clue that some kind of scam was taking place?
Awesome. I think there were a bunch of things when we talk about digital arrest, and interestingly, I did read a few things about it back in the day when it happened, but I was pretty sure that it'll never happen to me. So it was like, you know of it, but you don't deep dive because it doesn't concern you as much.
You hear of it as a phrase.
Yeah, you hear of it as a phrase, a metaphor, idiom floating around, and it'll never happen to you. And it actually happened about a year back now. Happened around 5th of July to be precise, and I was coming back from the gym, and it's one of those calls you never pick up, and then you get a message that your Blue Dart package hasn't been delivered, so press 1. And I never pick those calls up, right? Like, because it's early in the morning, you getting late for work, and one of those days, absent-mindedly, I picked it up, and then they kind of navigate you to dial a number. You press 1 or 2, and then they connect you to someone on the other end of the receiving your call on the other end of the phone, saying that there is a package which had been delivered, but it's been stopped by customs in Mumbai, and it was close.
How could you trust that voice? Like, what were your...
I didn't actually initially, but I thought it was my birthday. Probably I had a well-wisher in the US sending a gift, and maybe they sent something notorious which couldn't come through, right?
Yeah.
Like. So it started like that, and I thought, great, right? Like, then I said, they said there have been some contrabands in it. So I said, that's not my package. Feel free to move it. They said, actually now the package is not with customs anymore. It's shifted to the police. I said, great, right? Like, it's still not my package. They said it has your Aadhaar number. I said, probably it's fraud, right? Like, I told them that, boss, that's not going to happen. They said, I'll transfer my call to my senior and he can navigate it better, because there was nothing happening, right? Like, I was putting in, asking too many questions, and then there was a silence for about 5 seconds, and then they said, hey, I head XYZ in Blue Dart, and I'm the VP of whatever, of exports, imports, whatever, and then this has happened. They have your Aadhaar number. Unfortunately, this is shifted to the Andheri police station. So there are 2 ways of doing it. So I said, firstly, I'm not in Mumbai, so I can't even go to the police station. So they said, you can do it virtually too. So I said, great, if it's happening virtually. They said, there's an FIR against that package, so why don't you get it quashed or cancelled by just, giving a statement.
Okay.
So I said, how much?
But by this time, Akshay, what I want to understand is, were you half convinced that this could be genuine? Because your first reaction was, this looks like a fraud, or the sound of it sounds fake. So when did that change for you?
I still thought, I didn't care too much because there was not a lot of effort. Everything was happening over a phone. So I was like, okay, this is convenient. This is not so bad. I'm doing it over phone. And if one statement can cancel that, I don't want to get into all of the jing bang of going to Bombay, going to the Andheri police station.
So by this time, did fear sort of take over logic?
Not yet, but I was scared that why is my Aadhaar being used? So I was like, I don't give that number out so easily, right?
So they had the right number. They had your Aadhaar card.
They had the last 4 digits.
Because this is something we hear about again and again, that they have
the last
something
4
that
digits.
makes you build trust.
So they said your Aadhaar number ending with 7th, giving it to the world now. So ending with XYZ is this, and I was like, okay, fine. They actually do know my last 4 digits of my Aadhaar. So I was a little convinced probably it is genuine, and maybe a statement can make it all go away. So I was okay with that, and then they shifted to someone senior who was more firm, and felt like he was guiding me.
And felt like he was senior, I assume.
Felt like, yeah, someone very confident saying that, sir, we can shift you to the police, and now that it's gone, now it's not anymore with the Andheri police, it's gone to narcotics. And you can note down. So they gave me a number which was a fake package number of the consignment, and then they sort of distributed a bunch of things which were like what the contrabands consisted of. They said, when we shift you to narcotics on the call, you quote the consignment number. They may cross check on what those things are in the consignment, and you can tell them to please cancel it.
And sounded foolproof in how they wanted to go about it.
Yeah.
So I was like, not so bad, right? Like, I mean, if one statement can make it go away. It was 8:30 in the morning. I had to leave for office at about 9. I think the only time when I've come earlier is today, right? Like for this show.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I mean, you know, you're in that fixed mind. You have to do 3 things. You have to do them right and just get out of the. Get your day started. So I was like, okay, fine. It may take like 5-7 minutes. I'll speak to whoever that police guy is. Shifted me to another person, and this is all happening on the same number. So I mean, I wasn't smart enough to understand it. How can someone be so co-connected? But I was like, it's just a statement. I mean, beyond a point, what do you do, right? Like, it's not so bad. Give a statement, get out of it. So they connected me to it, and then they said that there are a bunch of contrabands here, and we will want you to come on Skype. I said, I don't have Skype. They said, please come on Skype. So I mean, I didn't even want to open my laptop, so I just downloaded it on my phone. Then I connected on Skype and then disconnected the phone. So when I was on Skype, they said, so I was basically in my gym clothes. They said, can you wear a proper shirt? Because we want, this is all getting recorded, so it'll be okay if you are properly dressed. So I was like, probably it's something serious. So I just quickly changed. I was wearing shorts and like a shirt and just sitting in front of my phone, and then I shifted to my system. And that's when they said that this has happened, and apparently your Aadhaar number is being used for across 5 cities, which they quoted. And I travel for work, so 4 out of 5 cities I actually traveled in the last 2 months. So while it could have been a fluke, they said that the hotel staff is leaking the Aadhaar number. So I mean, I never thought, I actually don't give my Aadhaar to hotels, after I book. It's usually like my voter's ID. But at that point in time, I was like, shit, that can happen. That could be genuine. So there was trust and credibility which they had established till now for me, which wasn't there. So till then, I was like, I just want to get rid of it. It's a confusion. I'll just clarify it. Now it was a bit of trust, saying that I did travel in the last 2 months in these 4 out of 5 cities. Probably one of the cities they got it wrong, or my Aadhaar was genuinely leaked there, right? And then they said that because there are contrabands, there is an ongoing investigation around it. So we want to know if you are genuinely involved or you're not involved. So then fear set in. So that's when I actually got arrested to the entire fraud, to say, oh shit, the police actually thinks that I could be blamed here.
But at no point while you were going through these feelings did you think, or did it not come to your mind that maybe I can contact the Delhi police, maybe I can seek some sort of legal help? Or were you so caught in the trap of this reaching out to you in the way it did that didn't strike you?
I would call it poor presence of mind at that point in time, to say that, it's like how you have Chrome tabs open. So I had 4 Chrome tabs open. The logical thing to do was, hey, I'll call you back after work and we can connect, right? Like, and I would have been at ease. Here I was in a hurry to get to work. So I was like, I have a review. I want to do that. I want to, check with my driver. I want to do 3 other things versus like get into this shit. So why don't we get it over with?
So I want to fast forward a little. Walk us very quickly to the point where they started asking you for money. And then tell us how you realized that, okay, this is a scam, I need to alert authorities, or did you tell your family members? Take us to that point now.
Perfect. So I think if I have to just fast forward to where it was, so there was credibility, there was fear set in, because it felt like an investigation. And after that, they said that there's a lot of money laundering happening through your Aadhaar, right? That's when I was like, what is happening? But because I knew, as salaried employees, I know what's money in, money out each month, right? So I knew there was no transaction which was feeling very airy. And that's when I said that, you know, my accounts are clean. They said, give us your statements. So I gave them my statements. This is all happening on Skype. So even the statements were sent on Skype. And then they said that, boss, it seems that your accounts are connected to some fraudulent transactions which are being used to fund terrorism. And that's when
I want to pause you for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Just, no, we have to come back to the main part in a second. But I just want to ask Mahir, who's here right now, who's been sitting with us, in your head, how many red flags have gone off right now? Because he often tells us, look out for this, look out for this. And I do want to tell our audience, your case is the case that's already happened to thousands of people in our country. So when I say, what are the red flags? I'm not trying to say you should have been better in any way, because this happens to so many people. Could have happened to me.
And
really.
The way Mahir was nodding his
really
head
felt like he'd heard it.
At every point, Akshay was making a point that he'd come across before. It conveyed a story, Mahir. So tell us more. You know, you've been involved in, I think, 5,000 cases such as this since 2021.
Yes.
So,
So basically, while working with the police also, we get to hear about all these things. And the main thing what Akshay is also telling about is a psychological wall altogether. This is a pitch. What they have prepared already. They know kaun si jagah pe, at which point the victim will escalate. And the credibility is through the data. जो data easily available है. If I am traveling, as Akshay was mentioning, आज आप किसी भी होटल में जाइए, hotel staff आपका data दे रहा है, there is no crossing check. There is no privacy check in the hotels. There is no enforcement of privacy right now. Due to which these criminals get hold on to the data, and then they call people like Akshay, me, or anyone else जिनका उनको data मिल गया है. अच्छा, I have several times I have asked the police कि why don't we get such calls? I have never received a call. So they might be knowing कि he is a lawyer and he is working with the cyber police, so we cannot call him because he won't be like basically getting into a trap. So they have the whole AI analytics dashboards working on their favor, where they'll connect to multiple victims like Akshay and then escalate the things to a point where Akshay or someone like Akshay will basically put in their money to get out of it. And the psychological warfare with Akshay at that time as a victim would be कि मैं इससे जल्दी से जल्दी बाहर निकलूं. Fastest redressal of this. What could have been? If I could have gone to a lawyer, he could have charged me money. If I could have gone to police, it could have costed me something. ठीक है, एक छोटा अमाउंट देके 1-2 लाख रुपए देके बाहर निकलता हूँ.
Would you blame any victim of a digital arrest such as this of not being fully aware? Because how do you blame them for the other person, the fraudster, reaching out to them, sounding so convincing about knowing some of these details that a victim would feel, or a person who's been approached would feel, only is in the know-how of the government?
Exactly.
Right? So how do you crack that?
So basically, cyber victims जितने भी होते हैं generally, so we need to know कि हमारा कितनी बार data breach हुआ है. If you could have heard in India, there is major chains का data breach हो जाता है. कभी एयरटेल का हो गया है, कभी आपने सुना होगा डोमिनोज का हो गया है, कभी आपने सुना होगा आधार का ही data leaked है. Hospitals, exactly. So now the hackers have cultivated all those data points. They have harvested a crop out of it, and now they are getting the money out of that crop. Simple as that.
So I want to come to you to ask you preventive measures in a second, but just to pause that for a second, Akshay, walk us through the moment itself where you gave over the money, and then walk us through what made you realize it's wrong, because then we want to come to you to analyze it. So
perfect. I think by then you because they've given you some guidelines, right? Don't talk to anyone, don't pick anyone's call, don't even look down, right? Like, so they're also very observant of what you're doing, and they're sensing if you've caught onto the fraud, right? And then they try to push more fear. So they've established credibility, they've established a way out for you. They've also told you this is very serious, which you never thought when you picked up the call. And now they want to ensure, and they act as people to ensure that they're there for you. So it's not like they want the money, they want to get you in the clear.
So it's fear and care. That
I mean, I won't say care, but let's get it over within an hour versus the problem of hiring a lawyer, going to the police station. I mean, and no offense to how our systems work, but there is a lot of rudimency with respect to any of the larger systems, because there is a lot of ambiguity on how they operate, right?
So tell us, did they ask for 2 lakhs and you gave over those 2 lakhs?
So they had my statements, right? I had 2 bank accounts, one from my previous organization, one in the existing one, and both had some cash, right? Like, and being in this millennial Gen Z era, we barely have money, right? Like, we just kind of spend it all. So I mean, I didn't have a lot of cash, so they said you transfer 1 lakh from this. So I said, why 1 lakh? I'll transfer 200 rupees. You can kind of figure out. So basically what they were trying to do was they wanted to check if my bank account was being used for other transactions, which at that point in time, my logic was trying to set in, saying that I know for a fact that I know all my transactions, right? So, and no one else uses my money.
So 2 installments of 1 lakh each. That's a big amount. For some people, they've been duped to the extent of 3 crores, 5 crores, but this is no less an amount. How did you end up paying that kind of amount?
I mean, they saw hesitation in me, even transferring the first one. And then I said, let me transfer it only from one account. I won't do it from the other. That is, they said, no, it's all accounts or no account, right? Like,
Can I, okay, so I want to go back to Mahir just to understand. Mahir, what are the immediate preventative measures? So, you know, we often talk, I just want to say, no one gets their money back. That's the horrifying thing. If you just look at the data, look at these cases, you've pointed this out too, the amount of people who get their money back is a very, very small number. And even in getting that money back, it's not the whole amount. Sometimes it's a much smaller amount. I just want to ask you, measures people can take. For example, today you have cyber insurance. That's a concept. So you can actually pay money, and then if something like this happens, you can get a payout. But what are actual things you would encourage our viewers to do beyond the usual, which is check caller IDs? Because tabhi, it's clearly happening to educated people.
So there's a very big step by Government of India. It has been recently, like in a day or two, it has been noted. There is a draft for telecommunication cybersecurity bill 2025. It has been drafted. It has been gazetted. That clearly says there is going to be a database of official numbers of government. I was discussing it with, I guess, Kritsween also. Like, there should be a database where government official numbers could be verified, Skype IDs could be verified, maybe Instagram handles could be verified. There was a very interesting case which happened. You could have heard there was a whole ruckus about a YouTube video, a comedy show which happened, and most of the comedians which attended those shows, they got their summons on Instagram. And I got instant calls on Instagram कि सर ये असली भी है या नहीं है. जबकि जब मैंने वेरीफाई करा, those were real summons by the Maharashtra police over Instagram platform.
ऐसा भी होता है.
ऐसा भी होता है. तो असली भी होते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है नकली होता है.
But doesn't that mean law enforcement needs to either stop using social? How would that work?
So there needs to be a proper SOP from the government side first of all. Secondary, preventive measures, coming back to the preventive measures from the victim side could be कि हम लोगों को सबसे पहले, आप लोगों ने मूवीज में देखा होगा कि जब भी पुलिस अरेस्ट कर लेती थी, आदमी सबसे पहले क्या बोलता था, मेरे लॉयर को बुलाओ. या आपने फॉरेन मूवीज में जरूर देखा होगा, हॉलीवुड में, दे नो देयर राइट्स वेरी पर्टिकुलरली. सर, यू कैन नॉट टच मी. सर, यू, आई हैव दिस पर्टिकुलर राइट. या, आई हैव द राइट टू स्टे साइलेंट. आई हैव द राइट टू कॉल माई लॉयर. So why don't we basically aware Indians about their cyber legal rights? We are digital citizens.
Since you're on the show and there are people watching the show, and Akshay has already shared his story, would you want to use this as an opportunity to tell people what they must do if they have this kind of an encounter with someone who is pretending to be a government official, who's saying that you must transfer so and so amount to this to verify this, that and the other? What should that person do? What should be the first step they should take?
And I want to add, is there a question they can ask that will 100% prove that this is a digital scam? You know, that they won't have an answer to.
Okay, so a question the question you will ask is कि आप अपना कोई ID बता दो. As a citizen, we don't have any access कि हम उस ID को verify कर पाएं. वो यूनिफॉर्म पहन के बैठा होता है, 3 सितारे लगे होते हैं, हमें लगता है SHO है, इंस्पेक्टर है, कोई थाने का, यही बात कर रहा है. Now coming back to the point कि हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं जब भी कोई हमारे पास ऐसा कॉल आए. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, वी डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट कि हम अरेस्ट होंगे या नहीं होंगे. अगर अरेस्ट होगे तो पुलिस घर पे आएगी ना, आप लोग को कैमरे से तो नहीं उठा लेगी, स्क्रीन पे से. आई जनरली टेल विक्टिम्स कि वो आपको वहाँ से लैपटॉप से उठा नहीं पाएगा. दे हैव टू कम टू योर प्लेस, यू विल गेट द टाइम. सो बाय आउट सम टाइम. जब भी कुछ ऐसा क्विक एस्केलेशन हो ओवर द कॉल, ओवर द इंटरनेट, यू जस्ट हैव टू बाय आउट सम टाइम फ्रॉम देम कि सर ठीक है, आई विल फिगर इट आउट, आई विल कोऑर्डिनेट विद यू. मैं आपके साथ सारी की सारी चीज़ों में मतलब कोऑर्डिनेट करूंगा, इन्वेस्टिगेशन में हेल्प करूंगा, बट आई विल नीड टू बाय सम टाइम आउट. गवर्नमेंट, पुलिस कभी भी आपको एकदम से प्रेशराइज नहीं करेगी कि आप अभी 2 मिनट में कुछ भी चीज़ हमें प्रोड्यूस करके दें. दैट इज नॉट गोना हैपन.
And I think Akshay is also in agreement to that. Akshay was totally in favor of, you know, buying out some time. He spoke of how he was in a time crunch that sort of put him in this mental spot wherein he wanted to get rid of the situation immediately. But Mahir, the other thing I want to touch upon is how, and Akshay can perhaps come in on this as well, is there a sense of not wanting to come up with your story of, fraudsters reaching out to you or you giving in to a certain extent? For instance, if Akshay had already gone about the first installation, Akshay, did you feel that a little bit that, oh, can I talk to somebody about it? Am I going to look stupid? How much of an issue that is to you? And then
did your family members have reactions that were?
I mean, I think partially I thought I lost my place in the family will after that, because unfortunately my mom sends a lot of WhatsApps on this, and this was one of them which she was trying to make me aware about, and I did not see it,
so
and I hearted
it. So you were receiving the digital arrest.
I was like, I feared telling her, but she was also the first person I went to, right? Like, what to do now? And then we did what had to be done. But obviously there's a sense of fear of the idiosyncrasy and stupidity which one has done, and like, how do you confide? I think as a person, I just told the entire world, because like I wanted my friends to be aware of it, because it was something very common. I told them it's just happened. Do you know how to go about it? And most of my friends are folks who are working. So it's like, they were also shocked that, oh fuck, something like this has happened, and what do you do now?
Apologies for the...
But like, I think everyone was aware to a certain extent, but when you see it so close to home, I mean, there is a sense of fear that it can happen to us, but there's also a sense of, I mean, I won't say you're ashamed of it happening to you, but you start questioning, saying that, hey, I'm so aware in general about what's happening in this world. How can this happen to me, right? And that's when you sort of question on the red flags, which Mahir spoke about, that, there are a bunch of things that no one's going to arrest you from the screen. What will they say? They'll summon you, etc.
Can I ask one last question to Mahir? Mahir, in terms of giving money and getting a little back, what are the quickest ways? So is it acting fast that gets you your money back, if at all? Like, are there steps you would say once you've given away a 1 lakh rupees that can still be taken?
So I have heard stories about some golden hours or anything. Personally, I don't believe there is a golden hour. So basically, these it depends upon by what kind of an organization or criminal you have been duped of. So they have mules account. They basically quickly jump their money.
A mule account.
A mule account. So basically, it's an account जो इंडिया में KYC करके करा गया है. किसान खाता बना था. 500 रुपए देके मैं किसी किसान से उसका खाता, उसकी सिम कार्ड, उसका डेबिट कार्ड ले आया हूँ. अब उस खाते में जैसे ही मैंने अक्षय से पैसे लिए, अब मैं उसको 10 खातों में जंप कराऊंगा और फिर किसी शेल कंपनी के थ्रू सिंगापुर भेज दूंगा. यू आर लकी अगर आपने 1930 पे कंप्लेंट कर दी. सबसे पहले जैसे ही कोई भी साइबर अपराध हो, आपको शक हो, इवन आपने किसी को डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन करी और आपको सिर्फ सस्पिशन है कि ये कुछ फ्रॉड हो सकता है, as soon as possible call 1930, go to cybercrime.gov.in and register a complaint. It will help. The government has made a system जो automatically 14 layers तक accounts को freeze करता है. तो जो भी mule accounts हैं ऐसे जिसमें आपका पैसा गया है वो freeze हो जाता है. So now you have the chance to get back that money through the court orders. So I was asking Akshay also. Akshay's money was frozen, but he doesn't know कि अब मेरे को वो कोर्ट से वापस कैसे लेना है.
That's where the awareness part comes in, because people are not aware that they have a lifeline such as this, right, Akshay? I don't think you.
I wasn't aware. I actually had given up. I said that probably this is my money to donate, but like, I think speaking to Mahir, and he's kind of navigated and told me that there are cyber lawyers, for example, right? Like, I never even thought that I could approach a lawyer. I thought probably, it's gone to the authorities. Authorities will figure it out or not, right? I was very quick to react. I went to both my banks. I went to the bank where it was got transferred. I did dial the number. I went to the cybercrime in Gurgaon, in DLF Phase 5. I filed the complaint. I had everything with respect to the documentation in the next 3 hours. But it's been a year, so I mean it's not so easy. But probably I did not know what next now. Who do I escalate to?
You're right, because as you said earlier, very few actually get their money back. So I mean, we can talk to, and having people like you spread awareness preventatively, I feel like is just the right way to go about this. But for now, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, both of you. With that, it's time for us to head into a short break. Really hoping that this has been a big message to all those tuned in of what not to do in case fraudsters reach out to you the way they reached out to Akshay. But coming up, after a quick break, we talk about the Green Queen of Kerala, a video that's gone viral on social media. This woman who stared down a king cobra, 18-foot long king cobra. We'll talk about what her story was like, how she felt in those exact moments in just a bit. We'll be right back.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
We've made a deal with United Kingdom. We've made a deal with China. We've made a deal. We're close to making a deal with India. Others we met with, and we don't think we're going to be able to make a deal. So we just send them a letter. If you want to play ball, you have to. This is what you have to pay. So as far as I'm concerned, we're done. We're sending out letters to various countries telling them how much tariffs they have to pay. Some will maybe adjust a little bit depending if they have a cause. We're not going to be unfair about it. We're always subject to negotiate something that's fair, but we've talked to most of the countries, and pretty much they've had their way for many, many decades, as you know. And it was time that we just wanted fairness. This is not really equitable from our standpoint because it's just a small token by comparison to the damage that's been done over the years. We've already taken in over $100 billion worth of tariffs, and we haven't even started. And all I say to the other countries is, some of them wanted to make a deal and wanted to be fair. Others perhaps got a little bit spoiled. They were a little bit spoiled because for 30, 40 years, 50 years, they were taking advantage of the country. So we're going to, I would say, final, but if they call with a different offer and if I like it, we'll do it.
US President Donald Trump produced a barrage of tariffs on Monday, as forewarned no doubt, to mark the end of that 90-day period of pause. Trump had, as we all recall, announced a very high level of tariffs on a number of countries on April the 2nd, Liberation Day, as he called it. He then offered a pause on implementation in order to give countries time to work out some sort of trade deal with the US. And in the absence of a deal, the tariffs were due to kick in on July the 9th. Now the implementation date has been delayed further to August the 1st to give some countries time yet to perhaps work something out. On Monday, Trump wrote to the heads of government of several of these countries informing them that they will face a certain level of tariffs, and then he released the letters publicly simultaneously. The first two letters went to the heads of government of Japan and South Korea, each now facing a 25% tariff on goods they export to the US. Trump followed up the
Welcome back. After that absolutely riveting discussion, we take you now to stories that are taking place across the globe. First, Sotheby's has unveiled the largest Martian meteorite ever recovered on Earth. What you're looking at is a 24.4 kg specimen. Now, it has formerly been called NWA 16788. That's its scientific name. And this is ahead of a July 16 auction in New York. It's a 54-pound meteorite and it's the largest ever recovered on Earth. Most things burn up when they come through Earth's surface. Remember, the spacecraft, the Apollo astronauts had a massive heat shield on the bottom of the spacecraft. So it's actually really, really special that you've had a meteorite of this size. Just imagine how much bigger it probably was before it came in. But a meteorite of this size crashing in the middle of the desert, and now obviously it has been preserved. It might fetch upwards of 4 million at the auction.
And in more, an operational Apple One computer, one of the 50 built by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in a California garage in 1976 is going under the hammer at Sotheby's in New York, where it is expected to fetch between $400,000 and $600,000. That's the money we're talking about. Years ago, Romkey brought the Apple I to Hatton. The computer is in fully working condition, a rarity among surviving Apple Is. Jobs originally priced the Apple I, remember, at $666.66, and the machine helped introduce the idea of personal computing. The Apple I will be offered during Sotheby's, what they call Geek Week History of Science and Technology sale from the 2nd to the 17th of July.
$666.66 is what Steve Jobs priced them at. Just being real funny. The story behind how this got here was there was a Tom Romkey, this is known as the Romkey Apple I, had a computer shop in Florida. And somebody had purchased one of these first 50, it looks like from the bite shop. He didn't like it. He ended up moving to Florida and he traded Tom Romkey for a different type of computer that is so unimportant. I don't even remember the name of this computer type.
All right, and next we take you to these very, very cool visuals you're looking at. It's a record-breaking 1,353 musicians that are braving the rain as they gathered in the Town Hall Square in Germany. This is on Sunday to form the world's largest string orchestra. And they decided to perform Ludwig van Beethoven's Ode to Joy. General Music Director of the Symphony Orchestra, Rasmus Baumann, who conducted the event, said the choice of music was ideal for such an occasion. The previous record, something like this, had happened back in Hong Kong when you'd had 1,000 musicians get a Guinness record. But this has now been surpassed with all of these people.
And on to the 2025 Wife Carrying World Championships. It wrapped up over the weekend with over 200 people from 18 countries participating. This year's competition drew extra attention thanks to the team event, which featured 9 teams from 3 countries. One of the most talked about participants was Severi Alonen, Finland's strongest man in 2024, coming in first in the sprint race and 4th in the main event. Caleb and Justin Roessler from US took out top spot in the main race then. And for the very first time in the event's history, a separate women's series was introduced. 5 couples signed up for this category. The event followed its usual format, with couples racing through a course filled with obstacles, including water and sand, while the wife was carried by the husband, as you see in these visuals.
Each year they are more hungry, and I think there are several guys who can I think win today. Me and Taisto, we are at senior veterans masters age, so but the young guys are strong, they are tall, they are hungry for the medals, so it will be very difficult.
And this next one is really special. Robotics researchers at Stanford are developing a new way to explore the world's oceans. It's a remote-controlled humanoid robot that can transmit the sense of touch to researchers that are sitting far away. More details for you in this report. Take a look.
Robotics researchers at Stanford University say this remote-controlled bot could bring a human touch to underwater exploration. That's because it has the potential to transmit the sense of touch to researchers sitting vast distances away. It's named Ocean 1K, a nod to its predecessor and a reference to its ability to dive 1,000 meters, or about 3,300 feet. Usama Khatib is the director of the Stanford Robotics Center.
What is unique about this robot is its ability to actually do things. So this robot has hands that are very gentle actually. We recover treasures from shipwrecks lost 2,000 years ago. We brought beautiful oil lamps, we brought beautiful cups, and without breaking them in one piece, the archaeologists were amazed.
Ocean 1K connects to a boat on the surface of the water, which has the potential to then connect to the internet. and allow remote users to control it. Users can feel what the robot touches using a haptic interface. In 2022, Ocean 1K conducted several missions below the Mediterranean, exploring sunken craft, including a submarine from World War II and a Roman shipwreck dating back to 200 AD. That mission maxed out at about 2,800 feet, where the robot was able to place a commemorative plaque on the seafloor before bringing it back to the surface. Khatib said the technology could help the study of the world's oceans, just like observatories have helped researchers explore space.
Well, now we are going to create observatories of the ocean. And we are going to let scientists come and help the ocean health. And this can be done remotely from any location on the planet to any location where the robots are deployed.
And now, let's talk about China-founded fast fashion retailer Shein, who's filed for an IPO in Hong Kong to accelerate the listing process and pressure Britain's regulators to approve its planned London debut. We get you more details in this Reuters report.
Fast fashion retailer Shein has filed for an IPO in Hong Kong. The aim is to speed up the listing process and pressure British regulators to approve its planned London debut. That's according to Britain's Financial Times on Tuesday. The report said the China-founded firm privately filed a draft prospectus last week with Hong Kong's exchange. It also reportedly sought a regulatory agreement from Chinese financial regulators. The FT further said Shein filed for a Hong Kong listing partly to pressure UK decision-makers into easing its risk disclosure rules. That as it wants to keep alive what could be London's biggest IPO in years. Reuters first reported in June that Shein was planning to file a draft prospectus confidentially for its Hong Kong listing, citing sources. Shein did not immediately respond to a Reuters request for comment. UK regulators also didn't immediately respond to a request for comment.
All right, let's take you now to our person of interest. Our guest today is someone who's got the whole internet talking. Let's just show you very quickly some of the visuals of this video that has got everyone talking. That's Forest Beat Officer Roshni from Kerala. And just look at her calmly catching a 18-foot king cobra with nothing but a stick in her hand, as you can see, and a sack. And that video has gone absolutely viral. Shashi Tharoor saying she needs to be honored by the state. Wildlife groups saying she's an inspiration for women in conservation. Even Sachin Tendulkar couldn't stop himself from praising her.
And why shouldn't it be all praises for her? I mean, look at that. This was just another day at work. She rescued hundreds of snakes before this, but never this massive a snake, or 18-foot long. I can't help but stress on that. What went through her mind during that nerve-wracking moment, at least that's what we feel about the manner in which she went about this. Let's ask her. Roshni joins us this morning on the Breakfast Club. Ma'am, very good morning and thank you so much for taking out time. The entire country is talking about you. Your video catching this king cobra with a stick, putting it in a sack so conveniently, you know, under that kind of composure has gone viral on the internet. How did you gather that kind of courage? I must ask you this.
I don't know how it happened. My dream is to rescue one king cobra because I had to rescue many of the snakes is venomous or non-venomous, like cobra, Russell's viper, etc. More than 800 snakes. But I can't rescue even a king cobra with chill. But yesterday my dream came true. I had to rescue one king cobra. It's a very large one, 18 feet long and 20 kilogram its weight, I think.
So cool. If we could just ask you, have you rescued hundreds of snakes in the past too?
Yes, I had rescued 800, more than 800 snakes. It's venomous and non-venomous, large snakes.
I can't help, Ms. Roshni, but stress on this again and again and keep asking you. You do not flinch even after seeing this 18-foot long king cobra. Looking at that huge snake, be honest with us. Did it scare you even for a second?
I'm not scared because I love snakes and I like rescue snakes. That's why I'm not scared. I am not tense because if I am scared, I can't rescue.
I love that approach. Can you tell us, ma'am, how venomous exactly is a king cobra? Because we've heard so much about it.
No. At that time, we have to know. We don't think like that.
Okay.
At the same time, we have to think only in my mind a safe rescue. That is the only thinking.
So not
Never think the bite. Otherwise, it's bite me or it's disturb any other persons. They are around me.
Yeah.
So. I don't think like for the biting of the cobra. I think only rescue.
To my mind, it's almost impossible to be staring at a king cobra and not think about a subsequent snake bite. But ma'am, kudos to you. Since when are you with the Kerala Forest Department? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
I had completed my degree and I was working at Thiruvananthapuram, Doordarshan Kendra, Thiruvananthapuram, 2000 since 2007 as news reader. After that, 2017, I had to go job in the Kerala Forest Department. It is a first batch Kerala PSC appointed the ladies into the forest department. It is 2017. I am one of the lady in that batch.
Just we're playing out your videos on the right, and it is just so cool. Like I
Also,
don't think
we have another news reader amongst us.
Yeah, we do. But tell us, how did your family respond to this? I mean, are they just used to seeing this, and were they like run of the mill? She keeps doing this.
My family, husband and two children, two boys, 17 years and 14 years. His husband was also a government servant. They are very supported me. They are not involving my job. They are not involving my jobs. Sometimes I had to go to rescue these snakes in the night time also. I think 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, in that time, because snakes are the nocturnal animals. They are always entering outside from their holes after the daytime. Always in the night time also. Pythons are always entering the outside in the night time also. Okay, so I had to go to rescue these snakes into the night time also. They are very supported me. Sometimes my son comes with me to rescue these snakes.
Oh my God, so the entire family is as brave, it seems.
As she is, yeah.
Ma'am, you've set an example for the women in the country as well, as for others, that a woman's bravery cannot be overlooked even in such high-risk conservation roles. How does that feel? How does that make you feel?
Department, lot of ladies comes to this job, and the department given them to the training, also rescuing snakes. But some ladies got the license, but they are not able to rescue the snakes into the field. I don't know what is the reason. Sometimes they are afraid, or another thing is all families are not supported to women to do such things.
How does it feel? You're also being called the Green Queen. How does that feel?
I'm very happy to hear all these captions in the online channels and also TV channels and newspapers. I am very much excited for the nicknames they are given to me. Is the tigress of the forest, green, like Rani Vembala. Lot of names are lot of names. I'm very happy to hear all these names because my whatever it is, my dream that is came true, and it is not easy to rescue such a snake like king cobra because it is highly venomous. We have no anti-venom for the bite of king cobra.
It's so difficult, and yet you pulled it off with such ease, ma'am. And that's why the internet's gone crazy looking at this video. But since you've spoken about your passion of rescuing animals, you've rescued 800 snakes in the past. Tell us about your next rescue dream. Which animal or snake will it be?
It's only my duty. My duty is to rescue these animals. My only dream is to rescue the king. Another snakes already I rescued all the snakes. Big four. We have in Kerala we have 4 venomous snakes. Only 4 venomous snakes. Big four. It's saying big 4. One is king cobra. Next is spectacled cobra. Third one is Russell's viper. Fourth one is common crate. I shall rescue all these. So my dream came true.
We salute you, ma'am. It has been such a pleasure to have you on, but also just to hear the optimism with which she approaches doing these.
I mean, the look of that video was scary, so I don't know how she did it, how she pulled it off, but kudos to you, ma'am.
But I also just hope our audience really feels like they've gotten to touch the Wonder Woman, who is behind all of this. Okay, let's move on now from this to something very, very different. In an exclusive conversation with CNN News 18's Nishad Nilambaran, veteran actor Anupam Kher and his young co-star from the upcoming film, Tanvi the Great, opened up about their special bond.
They also spoke about some of the behind-the-scenes moments during the film shoot. Anupam Kher fondly recalled the emotional depth of the story and praised the talent and the spirit of his on-screen muse. Take a look.
Pallavi ma'am, I would like to come to you. Again, consecutive films with Anupam sir as well. How is it working with him every single time? And this time he's also worn the hat of a director. So, was it easier? Was it like the same co-actor that you always worked with?
Same co-actor that I always worked with in the scenes with him. But without him, when I had scenes only with Shivangi, that time it was very refreshing seeing him as a director. And I've always been very inclined towards actors where the directors had, because they know exactly what we as actors, process. Right. And it's also very helpful for us actors if the director knows a little bit about acting.
True.
So, as I said earlier in the press conference, between the two of us, I think we started enjoying, this entire process so much that it would end up becoming a workshop more than a scene. But then I'm glad that we could do different variations so that he at least had a good a collection of emotions and interpretations of the scenes to choose from in the edit. And if I had worked with a director who doesn't understand acting and had made me do all those retakes, I would have probably been very upset. But with him, I think it was just wonderful.
I understand. Jackie sir, coming to you. आपने भी अनुपम sir, you have a relation that goes beyond just films and your professional life. You guys are family. When you saw him as a director and when he was directing you, do this, do that. like ma'am said, did that kind of bring back the kind of emotions and the kind of affection that you had always for Anupam sir? What was the feeling like when he said action? What was your feeling like?
Euphoria.
That's simply.
I respect and love him hell of a lot. I trust him blindly. So for me it is, and we've been friends for years, and we worked in a lot of films together, all kinds. It was just a pleasure. It was pleasure. The film was a totally pleasure to work with, a total soul cleansing, and it was freedom given beautifully. The way he guided me, the way he made me act, the nuances. He reinvented me in a way. I mean, I work with many directors. I'm bindas. With him, it was like learning. Total learning, and I had given myself in his hands.
Also because I know him personally, didn't have to do much about, and he's very stylish.
Of course.
As a person, so I added that style. I remember the first.
I remember you asking me to walk in a certain way.
It was his first entry sequence. So I said, why don't you just tilt a little and walk like that? And that's his introduction scene, and when with the music and with it looks so dynamic.
And we're heading into a quick break. On the other side, we're not done yet with the Breakfast Club. Do stay with us.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
We've made a deal with United Kingdom. We've made a deal with China. We've made a deal. We're close to making a deal with India. Others we met with, and we don't think we're going to be able to make a deal. So we just send them a letter. If you want to play ball, you have to. This is what you have to pay. So as far as I'm concerned, we're done. We're sending out letters to various countries telling them how much tariffs they have to pay. Some will maybe adjust a little bit depending if they have a cause. We're not going to be unfair about it. We're always subject to negotiate something that's fair, but we've talked to most of the countries, and pretty much they've had their way for many, many decades, as you know. And it was time that we just wanted fairness. This is not really equitable from our standpoint because it's just a small token by comparison to the damage that's been done over the years. We've already taken in over $100 billion worth of tariffs, and we haven't even started. And all I say to the other countries is, some of them wanted to make a deal and wanted to be fair. Others perhaps got a little bit spoiled. They were a little bit spoiled because for 30, 40 years, 50 years, they were...
Welcome back, and now we return with a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. And first to the markets, GIFT Nifty is indicating a muted opening for Indian stock markets. Asian stock markets were firm with a cautious note as investors assess American tariffs on trading partners. US stock markets closed lower as investors assess new developments on tariffs. As is being spoken of worldwide, prices of copper declined after US President Donald Trump threatened steep tariffs on the commodity.
All right, and let's take a look at a sector in particular in India. We're looking at the milk sector. Milk procurement has exceeded the sale of milk this year. Dairy industry in general is experiencing a structural change, and the value-added products and fat sales are now dominating the sales mix compared to liquid milk, for example. This augurs well for profitability and stability of the entire sector. You can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about the Indian dairy industry and various other actionable insights on the market. It's the premier destination for all investing views and financial insights that you're ever going to need need, brought to you by Money Control.
Okay, we're done for now, but just for today, we're coming up with another interesting theme tomorrow, another very interesting chat tomorrow, Toya, and people do know where to find us, isn't
Yes, you can give us all your feedback. Tell us what you want to see us cover. Ideas, guests you want to see us bring on The Breakfast Club. Just message us at CNN News 18 on X and hashtag The Breakfast Club so we know it's for us. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by... This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
We've made a deal with United Kingdom. We've made a deal with China. We've made a deal. We're close to making a deal with India. Others we met with, and we don't think we're going to be able to make a deal. So we just send them a letter. If you want to play ball, you have to. This is what you have to pay. So as far as I'm concerned, we're done. We're sending out letters to various countries, telling them how much tariffs they have to pay. Some will maybe adjust a little bit, depending if they have a cause. We're not going to be unfair about it. We're always subject to negotiate something that's fair, but we've talked to most of the countries, and pretty much they've had their way for many, many decades, as you know. And it was time that we just wanted fairness. This is not really equitable from our standpoint, because it's just a small token by comparison to the damage that's been done over the years. We've already taken in over $100 billion worth of tariffs, and we haven't even started. And all I say to the other countries is, some of them wanted to make a deal and want to be fair. Others perhaps got a little bit spoiled. They were a little bit spoiled because for 30, 40 years, 50 years, they were taking advantage of the country. So we're going to, I would say, final, but if they call with a different offer and if I like it, we'll do it.
US President Donald Trump produced a barrage of tariffs on Monday, as forewarned, no doubt, to mark the end of that 90-day period of pause. Trump had, as we all recall, announced a very high level of tariffs on a number of countries on April the 2nd, Liberation Day, as he called it. He then offered a pause on implementation in order to give countries time to work out some sort of trade deal with the US. And in the absence of a deal, the tariffs were due to kick in on July the 9th. Now the implementation date has been...
Good morning and a warm welcome. You're watching CNN News 18 with me, Grihatul. Let's begin with the headlines first. Trump tariff threat continues. US President announces America will impose 50% tariff on copper imports, threatens 200% tariff on pharmaceuticals. Amid Trump tariff threat, India and Brazil set $20 billion trade target, forge key deals on pharma and critical minerals. Preliminary report on Air India crash expected soon. The investigation focuses on engine fuel control switches and possible thrust loss after takeoff. X accuses Indian government of censorship over account blocks. Centre denies Reuters takedown order, says it actively worked to restore access. Rahul Gandhi and Tejasvi Yadav to lead Bihar protest over electoral roll revision and rising crimes in Bihar. Citing enforcement gaps and concerns, pollution body defers its directive to deny fuel to end-of-life vehicles in Delhi until November 1st. Mega CNN News 18 impact. 20 years later, the Transportation Security Administration is beginning to phase out the shoe-off policy at airports across the United States. Let's begin with our top focus story. The fallout from the tragic Air India flight AI-171 crash continues to dominate the headlines as members of parliament are raising serious concerns over the transparency of the ongoing investigation. The probe into the Air India flight 171 crash has zeroed in on the movement of the engine fuel control switches. Sources say that MPs at parliamentary panel demanded clarity on the black box analysis, the composition of the probe committee and whether experts involved were formally appointed or volunteered their services. We're now getting some breaking news updates. A preliminary report on Air India crash expected soon could offer first official details. Now, the probe is zeroed in on engine fuel control switches. Sources say the report may reveal systemic or technical lapses. So remember, this is the Air India crash preliminary report. It is expected soon. So the one thing that has been zeroed in as far as the probe is concerned is the engine fuel control switches. So that is what the report is going to look at, may reveal that systemic or technical lapse that had caused this particular crash. Sources are also suggesting that this report may in fact go ahead and talk further, take a look at these lapses, and that is where it is headed. So the AAIB is in fact looking at all of this. So lens is on the loss of thrust behind the plane crash. That is of course the reason that has been looked at since the very onset, and that report is expected very, very soon. This is the AAIB report that we are talking about. To offer more perspective and details on this big story that we track early this morning, we have our colleague Anvit Srivastav. Yes, Anvit.
Griya, see, since the beginning this incident took place, we all know that the aircraft had only climbed 650 feet and then it plunged this incident took place. Since the beginning, the focus of the investigators has been on the on no thrust that the pilot had sent a message to the ATC, and why did the engines had no power at the time of when the plane was climbing. Now, initial investigation findings from ground and from the data that has been retrieved from the black box, that has also one of the factors in the investigation. It has also directed towards the usage of engine controls, engine fuel control switches. Now, this could be crucial because see, an engine fuel control switch usually allows an aircraft to control the fuel supply to the engine. Also, it is crucial because in case of contingencies like engine fire, it is used to cut off fuel supply to a particular engine on board the plane. Also, when a plane climbs and altitude increases, then air pressure decreases. So even in that case, an air and fuel coordination needs to be maintained. In that also, these switches are very important.
Okay.
So the investigators are also looking at that where there could be any mechanical intervention, a possibility of that may have led to a bad judgment on usage of fuel switch. That could have cut power to engines, and that led to the engine power failure, because it was what appeared it was a dual engine failure, which is the rarest of the rare phenomena, particularly also when we talk about Boeing 787 Dreamliners, which have been introduced in 2011, since there have been no such incidents. Also on other wide-body aircraft or any other aircraft, dual engine failure is a very rare phenomenon. So keeping that in mind, this possibility of usage of engine fuel switch is also being looked at. Also, they have not ruled out any human or manual intervention or mechanical intervention. So that is also something they are looking into, because no thrust, the message that was given to the ATC by the pilots and Mayday that they had sent to ATC, that clearly suggested that the plane had no thrust, and therefore that was the reason when it climbed only 650 feet and then it plunged. So this is the main focus of the investigators, but they will be finding out this. On Friday we are expecting the preliminary report. This may only suggest as to what led to the crash, what could be the initial cause. Only in the detailed report that would follow after months, it may take months and weeks, that will be a detailed report to establish as to what led to this exact cause, and what were the events, sequence of events that led to this judgment, or whatever technical or mechanical flaw it was, finally causing the crash.
Also, Anvit, you're learning that India has finally allowed the UN specialists after the resistance earlier. Why has that happened?
See, we had heard initially that there was resistance from the government side, but see, ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization, is a UN body, and it does coordinate between different nations on this, air navigation and airspace sharing and civil aviation. And it had been looking at various crashes all across the globe, and in fact India has been a member to it since 1944. India also has been one of the founding members of ICAO. So there has been close coordination with ICAO, with investigators also, and initially we have heard that there was some resistance from inside the government, but finally what we know is that UN and ICAO designates have also are there as an observer in this investigation, and they're also actively participating. So whatever will be the findings of the final report certainly will be shared with the ICAO as per the standard rules, international aviation rules, but also the initial findings in the preliminary report, they are also being shared with them, so that, because see, it was a big incident, and it has certainly has global pressure as well. And Indian investigators also are working under global pressure to find out exactly what was the cause, because the plane that you were using was a Boeing plane. It was a 787 Dreamliner wide body. The people who were on board, they included different international people, like nationals from different countries, including Britain and other places. So that certainly makes it a big event, and also because ICAO is an international body, it has been taking interest since the beginning. Also, there's certainly undeniably a global pressure also on the investigators to find out exact cause, so that it can be made sure and the faith of flyers can also be reinstilled into the high standards of Indian aviation.
Absolutely, Anvit. Thank you so much for all of those details. Let's take a look at some more reactions coming in.
Safety is paramount. Anybody who flies wants to feel safe and assured that he is going to reach his destination. And that is something, unfortunately, in the last few weeks, post the Air India crash, many events took place which needed to be, and I'm not singling out Air India, but few incidents here and there concerning some flights. Obviously, when a crash happens, everything then becomes, sensitivity, and it gets highlighted more. So I just pointed out to the DGCA and to the airport, they should take safety as paramount.
Everybody is concerned about the safety. Okay. So in that way, what they are going to do, that we seek the clarification. Some of the answers they are given now, some of them they told us to give in right. So we discussed about the Pahalgam incident, after post Pahalgam, post Kumbh, during the Kumbh, all these issues we raised. The committee asked them to have a clear-cut regulation on these things. Fair play is happening.
Let's now shift our focus. Donald Trump's tariff threats continue as US President has now announced that he will unveil a new round of trade-related correspondence targeting at least 7 additional countries with fresh reciprocal tariff measures. Donald Trump also announced a 50% tariff on copper imports and has said that tariffs on pharmaceutical imports could reach as high as 200% within a year.
That's right, they have to pay 10% if they're in BRICS. Because BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to degenerate our dollar and take our dollar as the standard, take it off as the standard. And that's okay if they want to play that game, but I can play that game too. So anybody that's in BRICS is getting a 10% charge. Well, if they're a member of BRICS, they're going to have to pay 10% tariff. No, it's always been August 1st, that's when we're paying. Tariffs are charged by other countries at levels that are ridiculous. And I call those other countries, and every one of them is willing to give us everything now. For years they ripped us off, and we didn't have a president that understood it.
My colleague Pallavi Ghosh now joins us early this morning. Pallavi, 200% tariffs on pharmaceuticals. This is not sounding good for India.
That's right. In fact, in pharmaceuticals, Griha is not on the reciprocal tariff list, which means it doesn't come under the trade tariff letter, which we are all expecting from the American President Donald Trump. But he's talking about the future, and a 200% is a whopping amount. India's main imports of America, as far as the pharma sector is concerned, is all from India. And there are large chunk of it is in the general drugs category. They are big indigenous drug company, pharma companies, which make a huge amount of profit. The government made as far as export of these pharma products are concerned. And that could be one big reason why Donald Trump also wants to impose this kind of a tariff, because he's also looking at the indigenous import bill as well as their own pharma sector's development. So that's one big problem area. The other big one, of course, is when he talked about all those who are a part of the BRICS could come up under a tariff plan of 10%. Now, while we are waiting for a generous tariff agreement with America, but should the figure even be as low as 12 to 15%, an additional 10% takes the figure up to 20-25%, and that would be worrying enough. As of now, government sources are very confident that in this mini deal, the dairy products, agro products, most of them will actually be kept out of, and which is why our concerns are going to be addressed. So it's not going to be wait for long. Later tonight is when we can expect this kind of a letter to be now given out by the American president.
But Pallavi, what it's looking like is, after deliberations between India and US, what India so far managed to keep at bay, and that is where it drew the red line when it is about agriculture or dairy, as you're mentioning, all of that has now fallen on things like copper and pharmaceuticals.
That's right. And copper is also another big export of ours. So that could also be a worrying sign. See, we are looking at two things. Immediately, that letter, which is going to come in from the American president. And what we are going to look at is how much of the tariff is going to be imposed. And would you expect our dairy products and our agro products, our labor-intensive products like footwear, gems, jewelry, also to come under huge tariff. So even if we get a reprieve from here, this reprieve and relief is not really going to last for long. He also said at that cabinet meeting yesterday that from 1st August, you'll have to pay that tariff and there's no running away from. Even if we negotiate 200%, if that is imposed on a pharma sector, that's huge. On the copper, it's again huge because India also exports a large amount of these metals, these minerals. That's also a very big chunk of our export with America. And as of now, we do enjoy an export surplus. And that is something which is going to be worrying for us. What government sources are telling us, Griha, is that once that letter comes out, the phase 2 of the negotiations will begin. So we are still optimistic, while we are also leaving nothing to chance and looking at other markets and other products which can be put onto the export list as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Pallavi. Let's also bring in our colleague Siddhant Mishra, who's now joining us on the broadcast. Siddhant, there was a fair amount of pushback from BRICS nations, particularly Russia. There was a very strong statement. There was another strong statement that came from Brazil. In the face of all of that, now there is a deliberate measure by the US that they are going to go ahead and slap that 10% extra additional tariff on BRICS nations. That includes India. How bad is that looking?
Great. In fact, we were discussing this earlier also, that from the very beginning, Donald Trump had issues with the BRICS grouping. In fact, after his inauguration also, he did speak on this issue many times, that there should not be de-dollarization. BRICS should not be even thinking of de-dollarization or coming up with a BRICS currency, etc., etc. But now, that irritation from the BRICS grouping has become even more evident, perhaps in last 2 days when BRICS summit was going on in Rio, then when Prime Minister Modi's visit was ongoing in Brasilia. He came up with many statements. In fact, he threatened BRICS nation for additional 10% tariff. In fact, he also said that he will also be imposing 200% tariff on pharma, etc., etc. So this position of Donald Trump is very well known to the countries in the BRICS grouping, and this is perhaps the reason that time and again countries like India and Brazil have assured United States and West that BRICS is not anti-West in character or nature. In fact, the language also which has been used in the joint declaration is nowhere anti-West. Point number one. Point number two, yes, BRICS grouping has voiced concern about the unleashing of unilateral tariffs, because the grouping feels that this particular unleashing of unilateral tariff, etc., is disrupting global trade, and this was a concern which was raised in the grouping. So it did find a mention in the joint declaration. So indeed, America has issues with the BRICS grouping. Now, President Trump, that irritation is even more evident by him threatening BRICS grouping of imposing additional 10% tariff. But all eyes are going to be on the letters which President Trump will be issuing tonight.
Okay.
Perhaps that will decide whether there's going to be a mini deal signed between India and United States or not.
Right, Siddhant, do stay on with us. We were just mentioning Lula da Silva of Brazil. So amid Trump's tariff threat, India has inked key deals with Brazil. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Brazil has yielded a raft of strategic outcomes, ranging from enhanced trade ambitions to critical mineral partnerships and anti-terror pact. A key highlight was the establishment of a 20 billion bilateral trade target over the next 5 years, with both sides agreeing to diversify their trade portfolios beyond existing sectors. Apart from this, both nations have forged key deals on terror, on pharma, critical minerals as well. Siddhant?
Well, that's right, Graham. So, as we were discussing before, that, Trump threatened 200% tariff, Graham, on pharma when this visit of Prime Minister Modi was ongoing in Brasilia. Now, India joins hand with Brazil. And in fact, India asked Brazil to fast-track export of Indian drug to Brazil. In fact, 15 Indian pharma companies